Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. We're excited to do this second session today on IRIS and IRIS for Health 2020.1. I have with me a large team. Not everyone is here, but I have a fairly large team here. And actually, by the way, we are going to do a quick poll just to find out how many of you have downloaded our preview version of 2020.1. One of the reasons we want to have these sessions is to get feedback directly from you about how that preview session is working, or how that preview is working. And so we're planning on you asking a lot of questions. So the database, this is the database platform product management team. I'm Carmen Logue, and with me we have a number of the team. Hopefully you can see them in the panelists there. We have Pat, we have Craig, we have Andreas, Steve, Raj, and then we have our European friends are mostly not on, I believe, and I'm not sure if Tom is on from, he is. Tom is on as well. Great. So we'll be taking your questions as we get to those at the end of this. And like I said, we really wanted to take this opportunity to hear directly from you. The quick agenda here is I'm going to go through just one slide on our timeline so you can understand what that is. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes total on going through slides. So that's a little clue to you that you have about 15 minutes to come up with the questions that you have about 2020.1 or anything else actually that you see in this slide deck. So feel free to do that poll at any point. And we're actually going to be using polls sort of throughout the session here. I'll do a few slides on what's new in 2020.1, and then for those of you who haven't upgraded to some of our interim releases, I've got some content there that shows you what was in 2019.2, .3, and .4, because all of that will also be rolled into the 2020.1 release as well. And like I said, please get ready to ask us questions when we end this. We've reserved the bulk of this hour for answering your questions. Okay, so we're going to pause just a minute here while we collect the poll information. Like I said, these preview releases come out about 4 to 6 weeks before the release, and we're interested in seeing how, in seeing sort of whether or not that's something that people are using. So let me just wait a minute there. Are we getting the poll numbers? Are they rolling in? This is exciting. It's election season, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Hopefully this won't turn out to be quite like the debate last night.
You're at
questions?
80%.
Yeah. 80%? Great. Okay. All right, so we've got, okay, that looks pretty good. About a quarter of you have already downloaded, so that's great. Appreciate that. And like I said, we are interested in your feedback about whether or not these early preview releases have been useful for you in terms of getting an understanding early of what's going on. And we're also very interested in hearing how they're working for you. So I want to spend just a minute on this release cycle that we have. We introduced this delivery model a couple of years ago, and so this year we stayed on this schedule. And let's see, we've got what we call our extended maintenance releases, which come out about once a year. And as you can see, we came out with 2019.1 early on, and in the first part of 2019, and we're getting ready to roll out now 2020.1, which is also an extended maintenance release and is available as a kit. We do, when we also will do a interim release, as you can see, we did 2019.1.1 when that's warranted. This year, that 2019.1.1 release included an in-place upgrade from Cache to IRIS, so that was a big motivating factor. We included some other things there as well, obviously. So those will come basically on an as-needed sort of basis when we have content that we want to get out mid-year, those maintenance releases. But the second line there, the container line, is something that we're doing on a quarterly basis. So we had a 2019.1 simultaneously with the kit release, and then we did a 19.2, 19.3, and 19.4 on each quarter. Now those are available only as containers, and so those are for folks who are in the cloud and want to take advantage of that. And so that's a relatively quick release cycle. About 4 to 6 weeks ahead of that release, we make available this preview release. And so that's something, like I said, for 2020.1, that became available in January. And the goal there is to get a little bit of feedback from customers who are interested in using that and trialing it either in their labs, in their lab environments, or somewhere else. So, so that's our cycle. We are currently on schedule to release our 2020.1 release in the second half of March. So that's still our current target. All right, let's move on. And thank you again for participating in that poll. That was, first of all, to make sure you were all awake and ready to go. And it also just gives us information about kind of how much those are being picked up. So in terms of some of the release themes that we've been working on really throughout the year, this is part of the 2020.1 release, but also sort of across the whole year, these should be kind of familiar things to you. And I'm gonna dig into each of them a little bit and talk about what's in 2020.1 as well as in some of those other releases. So let's go ahead and start with that. Speed, scale, and security. So this is an area that's been really continual investment for us, really since we started with IRIS, and we expect that to continue. That's something. These things are things that we take a lot of pride in. Our 2020.1 release delivers the results of work that our teams did with some of our largest customers to ensure that they have the kernel scale and performance that they need. And while that was working with some of our larger customers, we were really confident, based on the performance improvements that they reported, that all of our customers will benefit from this work. Now, a common question that comes up around performance is, well, what can I expect? And it's a tough one to answer because it really varies based on what features you use and what kind of performance you're measuring. But what we've heard from our customers is that they're seeing anywhere when they move from IRIS to from Cache to IRIS, that they're seeing a 20 to 30% increase in performance, as well as we've seen some more in the kind of the 50% range. So it's pretty dramatic. And as I said, this is something that we've been investing in really in every release of IRIS. The other thing with the scalability is customers and partners can scale their deployments up and down and up and out more easily than ever before. And that's really thanks to the improvements that we've made to the infrastructure tooling in order to kind of manage those distributed environments more effectively. And then the last item there about password configuration, that's a kind of a representative feature of lots of other things that we've done, which enable the ability to create hash passwords outside of IRIS for container delivery. So we've done a number of security enhancements for our container releases, as well as we continue to invest in security for our kit releases too. So that's, as I said, a continuous investment that we're making. Just wanted to call out a few things in our in SQL scale and performance. The unified query cache really streamlines operations for SQL applications by managing all SQL statement types in a single cache. So that would include dynamic, embedded, XDBC, all that stuff is now managed in that single cache. And then the unified shard queue manager, mentioned that as well. It improves really the resource utilization for sharded clusters, especially when they're under heavy load, and that's really due to queuing the shard local query, work. So a lot of improvements there in the 2020.1 release, as well as kind of an accumulation of the other things that we've done. And I'm just going to show these here. You can feel free to ask questions about some of these things that we've done in the interim. All of these things, if you're going from 2019.1 to 2020.1, these will be included as part of that release as well. So these may be new to you, which is why I leave them here. Okay. Now, moving on to easy migration to IRIS, one of our key goals for 2020.1 was to make the conversion from earlier InterSystems products easy. And so we've added the ability to do in-place conversion for IRIS for Health. So that's kind of completing that, and Health Connect, sorry. And so that in-place conversion really kind of completes some of the work that we started at the beginning of the year around doing in-place conversion to IRIS initially, and now we've kind of completed that for IRIS for Health. So that's been an ongoing activity. In addition, we're working to make migration from our customers and prospects existing sort of their non-InterSystems solutions to IRIS as well. I'll go into a little more detail about HL7 Productivity Toolkit in the next slide, but the improved T-SQL support is something that T-SQL is something that we had supported before, but we've made some additions there, both in terms of functionality and performance, to allow customers who want to move from Sybase to IRIS. Now, for HL7, this is targeting primarily our healthcare customers, will release in 2020.1 an HL7 productivity toolkit that enables HL7 developers to build and migrate their interfaces faster. The HL7 production generators is intended to take input from the customer and update a production with the appropriate entries. So the generator is not full interface development tool, but it really provides a way to kind of jumpstart that interface development process. 2020.1 also includes a message analyzer that can help HL7 developers understand if they need to create custom schemas out of that. And then finally, a brand new HL7 migration tool supports migrating interfaces from Cloverleaf and eGate. So this is something that we heard from some of our prospective customers that they wanted us to add, and so we did. So like the production generator, it doesn't replace HL7 interface development, but it really speeds that conversion from these vendors. And that's an area that the migration tooling was something that was trialed and used very successfully at one of our customers, so we have some experience with that. For interoperability, we made a number of dynamic gateway enhancements that make calling out to different languages faster. And for our healthcare customers, X12 has been a critical protocol for claims processing. So with 2020.1, we've completed improvements to our X12 support, including better validation of X12 schemas and importing X12 schemas from the newer XSD schema files. And I'm gonna also talk a little bit more about FHIR. So that's for our healthcare customers. And maybe we should pause here to do the FHIR question. You guys want to do that, or should we save that till the end? Is it easier?
No.
Okay. So yeah, so we can go ahead. We're going to push that out, a second poll question. All right, just to keep things lively. So one of the things we're curious about is how many of our customers are interested in using FHIR R4. FHIR R4 was released at the end of 2018, and we're continuing to look at that and to lay the groundwork for our customers who are ready to start exploring FHIR. And you should, definitely stay tuned. We expect to have additional developments in this area over the coming quarters and years. But it does help us if we can get kind of a good sense of how many people are looking at FHIR and what sort of that level of interest is. We believe this is something quite important, so that's why the investment. But it also helps to know that this is that we're aligned with what you're thinking as well. So, all right, like the responses are rolling in, so that's great. Keep it up. And we tried, since we're right after lunch here, we tried to make these all pretty simple questions for you. Yes, no, no maybes allowed. Yeah. You're in or you're out. And it looks like it's still coming in?
70%.
Okay, great. Yeah, again, appreciate that. An area that we are actively working on. So it's always good to get that validation that this is something that's important to our customers as well. All right. Okay. All right. And just one thing I do want to call out on this, looking at the 2019.2, 3, and 4 for what we've done with interoperability, is the InterSystems API Manager. This was a pretty major announcement that we made, I think, in July, that we have added this capability to kind of consolidate API management within your InterSystems solution. So if this is not something that you've looked at, I'd encourage you to look at that. It requires an additional license, but it is, I think that's right, it requires an additional license, but it is not something that is an additional fee. It is included in your InterSystems licenses. So definitely take a look at that. There's been a lot of good content also created out on the developer community for this, so I'd encourage you to look at that as well. This is something we think is going to help make your lives easier. So take a look at that. Just wanted to call that out as one of the things that we added in the last year. And our cloud initiative continues to be an area of investment for us, and we've done some things in the 2020.1 release, but we also have a fair amount of work that we've done in the prior releases as well. The other thing I'll mention about the cloud initiative is that this is an area where we we are able to deliver things even on kind of off cycle as well. So even in between a 2020.2 and a 2020.3, we can deliver things, support for some of their Kubernetes features and things like that is an example of something that might come in between there, that we're able to deliver additional functionality there too. But for 2020.1, we are adding support for ARM architecture, and basically this is something, the ARM chips that are going to be coming out very soon, if they're not quite out yet, right? And we're doing this, we're running on AWS initially, with more environments to come in the future. And I think the interesting thing here, the exciting thing, is really the increase in the infrastructure price performance. So hopefully you guys, once that becomes available, will be able to take advantage of that as well. That's something that is coming, in that 2020.1 timeframe too, kind of dependent on when those chips become available. All right. And in the cloud initiative, as I mentioned, we have the one feature we're focusing on here in 2020.1, but we've been working on cloud over the course of the last year. So you can see a number of things that we've added in 19.4. So relatively recently, we added support for Tencent. So again, helping you to have that freedom of choice to choose which cloud vendor you want to work with, and to protect your investment really if you do move from one to another. All right, now for developer experience or developer productivity, we've called it here. You've, I think, probably heard us talk about this language freedom of choice for quite a while. With 2020.1, we feel like we've completed that, so you can do your development with SQL, ObjectScript, Java, C#, Python, Node.js, and this is something we believe is a real strength. And so we're supporting multiple languages so that you can really develop in the language you want to. And so with 2020.1, we kind of are wrapping that up to some extent. So obviously there'll be features coming as we move forward and find out more that we need, but we feel pretty good about where we are in 2020.1. And over the course of the last year, you can see in those interim releases, we've been adding things as we go along so that we can get to the point in 2020.1 that we can say that. So you'll see as we go along just things that we've added along throughout the course of the year. And finally, this is an area that I would say we've kind of increased investment toward the back half of the year. And so you will be seeing more announcements from us in this area, in AI, machine learning, and analytics. But a couple of things that we've done in the 2020.1 timeframe, actually open source of InterSystems IRIS NLP, I'll just move to that right away, is is actually something that, oops, just one back, yeah. So we made this available in February, actually, or in the beginning of February, sorry. So we're making it open source, largely to be able to contribute to the open source community, but also to increase the development experience, the number of developers that can have access to iKnow. I should mention, too, that this is something that will continue to be distributed with IRIS. So if you're using iKnow now or InterSystems IRIS NLP, that'll remain the same. There won't be any change there. But we are also making it available in open source. So again, in developer community, there's a good article about this. You can get more information as well as how to get access to the open source stuff. So that's one area that we've been working on. The other thing that we've done is with InterSystems IRIS BI, or Deep C, as you probably know it, we've added something called Selective Cube Build. And what that allows is for you to select which dimensions or measures you want to build, and to only build those instead of rebuilding the whole cube, which is what you would have typically done in the past. So the benefit there is that if you need to make a business change, such as I want to add a dimension, but I want to do that without taking my cube out of service, you can do that now. So you would add that dimension. You would just build that dimension, and the customers that are using the cube would continue to be able to have access to the cube while that build takes place. And then once that build is completed, then the new dimension becomes available to those customers as well. So it just allows a little more agility. The other thing, when you do something like that, like add a dimension, when you go in to build the cube, it will be automatically selected for you, so you'll be able to see what things have changed. So it just kind of does some of that thinking for you. All right, and so that wraps up the quick overview of what's in 2020.1. I'm leaving the links here for InterSystems IRIS and IRIS for Health release notes, where that goes through in even more detail what's in 2020.1, as well as some of those other releases. And I think we're going to do two more polls. So the first one is
upgrade to IRIS.
Oh yes, are you planning to upgrade to IRIS or IRIS for Health this year? So so I'll give you a minute to go ahead and answer that question, and that helps us understand kind of who's on as well as what you're thinking. Great. So it's so fun to see the poll rolling in, isn't it? Yeah. And then once we get this one done, we're going to add another question about your intentions around going to cloud, I believe, moving to IRIS on cloud, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then once we complete these polls, we are ready to start taking your questions. Like I said, we've got a bunch of us available for questions. We've also certainly got the ability, if we don't know the answer, we can reach out and ask other people and get back to you. So so feel free to ask questions about either 2020.1, about kind of the release cycle and the preview release concept, or about some of the things that we've done in 2019.2, 3, and 4. All right, so it looks like we have a good number of people that are planning to upgrade to IRIS or IRIS for Health. We certainly think that's a great idea. Okay.
Planning to run on cloud.
All right, so now we're going to launch another poll about moving to cloud. And as I said, this just helps us get a sense of kind of what sort of what you're thinking about, and what we could do to make some of these things easier. And actually, while we're doing this, should we go ahead and take the first question if there's one in chat?
Is there any performance improvements in the cubes?
Okay. So the question, I don't know if everybody heard it in there, is are there any performance improvements in the cubes? I think the so this is in the InterSystems IRIS BI cubes. We've made a few changes. One of them happened actually in 2019.1, where we transitioned over to using Work Queue Manager. So that's not exactly the cube, but it does help, I think, a little bit with performance. But with selective build, there's not a performance improvement with selective build, but what it allows is that you don't have to rebuild the whole cube when you're making some of these changes. So there's kind of an inherent performance improvement there in that adding things, doesn't take you out of service for any period of time if you're, for example, adding a dimension. So that's the primary performance improvement. Okay. All right. Now we have the second poll. Okay. So looks like about a third planning to go to cloud. Yeah, I think that's all right. Great. Okay. So at this point, I know that was a very quick overview. That was the intention, as I said at the top, was to give the bulk of this time over to any Q&A and questions that you might have. So you can either, I think we'll do it two ways. One, you can put the question into the questions panel there, and it looks like those are rolling in, which is great. And we'll just take them out of there, I think. And I guess the other option, we do the hand raise too?
We can do a hand raise.
Yeah. The other option would be for you to click the little hand button next to your name, and we can unmute you at that point. So we'll take the written questions, I think, first. So, all right, so we did the first one. Raj, are you ready for a question? Okay. The next question is there C and C++ language support?
So, yes, we have C, C++ language support, native API support on the roadmap. How fast that gets done is probably a factor of how many customers are looking for it. So we're interested in feedback on, how you would use that, how important it is, what are other ways you would do what you're doing, and how this would improve that. So we're basically in, a fact-finding and prioritization stage of when we want to, how that would fit into our roadmap. But we are definitely looking very closely at releasing that sometime in the future. I won't say the near future, but we're looking at releasing that sometime in the coming year or two.
All right. The next question is containerized IRIS intended for production? And is there an adoption process for HealthShare into containerized IRIS for health? So I think the first question is easy, right?
Yeah, the first question, yes, or the first answer is yes. Containerized IRIS is intended for production.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure I understand the second.
I think they're talking about how to upgrade or make a conversion from HealthShare to a containerized version of HealthShare.
Right. Or IRIS for health, actually.
Right.
It is. Yep.
Right. So for HealthShare Unified Care Record, UCR, formerly known as Information Exchange, that product currently is not supported in containers. As far as I know, the HealthShare product team is looking at that very carefully right now. So as a product upgrade from HealthShare UCR to an upgraded version in the future that's supported in containers, that's something that we'll cover in the future. But right now, it's not supported. But I guess if this question is actually about if a customer if you are on a version of HealthShare Kit, but it's not UCR, you're actually using it for other purposes, perhaps for Health Connect use cases, and you're actually thinking of moving directly to IRIS for Health as a product, as a development platform, then that path is supported in both kits, just regular standard kits, and in containers. So in which case you could first move from HealthShare, UCR HealthShare to Health Connect, and then from Health Connect there is an in-place conversion mechanism directly to IRIS for Health. So that's an existing path that is supported or will be supported as of 2020.1. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Right. So I guess the short answer is yes. You can get there.
Yep. Yeah.
There might be a few steps, but yeah. Okay. Great. So the next question is, what is the preferred method for integrating IRIS with GitLab and other continuous integration workflows? That's Raj.
So hi, this is Raj Singh again. I would say there is no preferred method from a product perspective on this, and we're really looking for, the first thing you should do is talk to your sales engineer for their experience. And second, we're looking to build up some best practices on this in the developer community at community.intersystems.com. And I think in general, the area of CI and Git source control management is something new to a lot of InterSystems customers. And I think we need to all help each other out with moving towards that future.
All right. Thanks. I'll take the next question. The question is, will you be demoing some new features such as production builder? We don't have a plan to demo today. We wanted to do this first one anyways as a Q&A. But I think it's a good suggestion. I think that adding demos either to this format or making them. We do have, I think, some demos. They're available from the developer community. Is that true? Actually, no. But I think that's a good suggestion for adding demos to this kind of format as well. I know that always makes it real for people. So, yeah. We do. Maybe I'll give one shout out for. If those of you haven't seen it on the developer community, there is a sort of a performance demonstration that you can run yourself, posted by Amir, that, just because I've been talking about performance so much this morning or to this afternoon, that might be something for you to check out just to kind of see that. That's so I think if you search for performance in the developer community, you can get to it. All right.
Can we post URL?
Oh yeah, actually, it's a good point. You want to post it into the chat? Yeah, we'll find that and post it into the chat. All right. Let's see. Next question is, we have Health Connect 2018.1.2. What will be the best IRIS for Health version we can upgrade to?
Right. The simple answer is the best version is 2020.1. 2020.1 of IRIS for Health is the very first release of IRIS for Health that will support in-place conversion from Ensemble, Cache, and also Health Connect. So we as soon as that comes out very soon, so that would be the best version to use. But just to clarify though, we also have IRIS-based Health Connect 2020.1. That's also coming out at the same time. So I recommend that you work with your sales engineer and account manager to figure out what product actually works best for you. So if you're using Health Connect currently as an integration engine only, then I would assume the best path for upgrade is to go from Health Connect to the new IRIS-based Health Connect. But if you're thinking to expand into development, adding additional support and functionalities on top of the use cases you currently have, then the path is to go from Health Connect to IRIS for Health. And for both cases, Health Connect and IRIS for Health, the best version is 2020.1.
Great. Thanks, Greg. So the next question is, you've shown what's been added. My question of concern is, what, if anything, has been deprecated for those upgrading from Cache 2017?
So this is Andreas from InterSystems. So we have many customers that have interest in moving from Cache and Ensemble to InterSystems IRIS with their existing production instances. And yes, there are differences between the two product lines. Generally, they are not compatible, but we're keeping certain technologies compatible. And the feature set is also slightly different between these products. Mostly, you will find that your application will just run on InterSystems IRIS as before, but there are a few differences that you want to look at. In order to help you with this process, there is a document called as the InterSystems IRIS Migration Guide, which is available as a download from our WRC server. So if you have access to the WRC account, you can go to the download server, and then under documentation, you find two documents there. One is the migration guide, which describes the differences between Cache and Ensemble and InterSystems IRIS. And there is also a conversion guide, which describes the process of how do I apply, or modify, or convert my existing Cache and Ensemble instance into InterSystems IRIS. If you don't have access to WRC, please contact your account team, and they will be able to give you access to these documents.
Okay, thanks. The next comment is demo, please. So that's the second vote we got for demo. So I definitely, we will definitely take that to heart. And you know, this was a bit of an experiment for us to try, so we will take that as feedback for when we do this the next time. So thank you for that. Next question is IRIS for Health Meaningful Use Certified?
Yes, this is Patrick Jameson. IRIS for Health is a development platform, and if you understand this meaningful use, this is a term that's the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services uses to certify electronic medical records for essentially qualifying for enhanced reimbursement. So IRIS for Health is not a electronic medical record by itself. HealthShare and TrackCare are electronic medical records, and I believe they do qualify under meaningful use criteria. Meaningful use stage three. So that's really what the story is. IRIS for Health is, since it's not an EMR, it wouldn't be meaningful use certified.
So, just to add to that, this was a couple of years ago. In fact, this was 2017 when HealthShare did certification for meaningful use stage 3. And since then, I think they stopped using the term meaningful use. And what we're aware at this point is that relatively soon, ONC will come out with a new rule. I guess that's similar to meaningful use, where fire is supposed to be kind of, it's a rule that says fire is now the mode of transportation for making patient data accessible. So once that rule comes out, I guess it will include the minimum set of resources and data elements that must be included when making data available via fire. So once that comes out, we have plans to cover that for HealthShare, and in order to support HealthShare, IRIS for Health, which HealthShare is now built on, we'll need to have the underlying support. So indirectly, yes, we support it, but it's just that the actual certification will need to be done at the application level. In which case, in this case, it's HealthShare. So yes.
Great, thanks, Craig. So we got two thank yous, I think both to Craig. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay.
Yep. So thank you for clarifying that. Yep. And I know if you look on the chat at this point, you'll be able to see some information about some demos we released on GitHub recently. So so that maybe that can satisfy our short-term need for demos, but we will also take that to heart for this. I think demos always do work well in these situations. So, but take a look at those. Gary's posting them, I think, making them available to everybody at this point. So we've reached the end of our list of questions here. If anybody has any more, oh, we've got another one. One just came up. Awesome. Okay. Oh, yes, good. All right, thank you, Jeff. Okay, it says, if Cache and Iris are generally considered different, then instead of a migration path, should we stay on Cache, and will Cache continue to be developed?
So, this is Andreas again. Yes, they are different. Cache and Ensemble are a product line. IRIS, InterSystems IRIS, and IRIS-based products are a different product line. Strategically, the development and focus is on InterSystems IRIS, the platform of the future. We will continue to maintain Cache and Ensemble, but all improvements for product enhancements and strategic elements will all go into InterSystems IRIS. So we strongly encourage everybody to really start taking a look at the InterSystems IRIS platform and start moving there.
Thank you, Andreas. And there is another question. Are there any new OAuth 2 tools, I think this is for Andreas too, with IRIS for Health?
All the security elements in the product are underlying in the core implementation of products. And products like IRIS for Health or HealthShare Health Connect immediately can take advantage of those implementations as their feature set as well. So OAuth 2 is available for IRIS for Health and HealthShare Health Connect today, not today.
Yeah. Yes, they don't even have to wait for 2020.1, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Well, you guys have done a great job of keeping the questions coming. We appreciate that. Let's see. Does IRIS for Health have all HealthShare products?
Yes, this is Patrick Jameson. No, IRIS for Health and HealthShare are distinct product families. Okay, there may be some overlap in some capabilities, but really one is meant as a development platform. That's IRIS for Health. HealthShare has a number of different, I guess I would call product modules that are really applications, such as the Unified Care Record and Personal Community and the Personal Viewer. None of those things are part of the IRIS for Health platform. So even though HealthShare is built on top of IRIS for Health, they're really distinct products, and they really have very, very different functionalities.
Thank you. So as soon as I start to say there's no more questions, usually someone asks one. So should I try it again?
But I see it, yes.
What's that?
I see it.
I guess actually for the last question about IRIS for Health, just to remove any confusion. So when it comes to Health Connect, the story is a little bit different, where IRIS for Health completely includes all the capabilities that you currently see in Health Connect. So yes, the interoperability layer is completely subsumed by IRIS for Health. But that's the only
area, yes,
area that's the same. Anything other than that, in terms of Unified Care Record and other products in the HealthShare family, it's not included.
There's another one? Oh, good. Okay. Okay. It says, are queries really done in a distributed manner in IRIS, like MapReduce? This is one. You got this one? No? Okay.
Architecturally, it can be, and if you're leveraging the sharding or data partitioning, yeah, you can execute queries across a number of separate data nodes that are then distributed out to those nodes, fed back up to a master node and aggregated.
but it requires a sharding configuration to happen.
Yeah.
It's all SQL based today.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and if anybody needs
Objects later, yes, Mike. Yes, Augie.
what's that?
Augie's asking another question that just
Okay.
follows up.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yes, we're planning to do object support in addition to the SQL support for sharding environments.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to add. Right. Feel free to add clarifying questions in there as well. I don't think we had anybody who raised their hand, did we?
No, I've been keeping
Looking
an eye
at
on
that earlier. Yeah. Easy to type. Yeah. There are some people that prefer to talk rather than type. You can raise your hand.
another one.
There's another? See, as soon as I stop. All right. What do we got left? Okay. Is SDA3 still supported in IRIS for health?
Yes. Yeah, the simple answer is yes.
It's nice when it's a simple
Yeah.
answer. Yeah. It's longer to write the question.
That's right.
Yep. Okay. All right. We'll pause for just another minute or so to see if there's any other questions. We're still here, so if you have them, put them in there, and then we can wrap up. All right. Well, we really appreciate everyone's time and your active engagement with the polls and the questions. Really helpful to us in the product management team to just understand kind of what you're thinking about, what's confusing, what you need more of, demos. And hopefully this was a good use of your time as well to get an overview of what we've been up to over the last year or so. And, you know, we'll look at, you know, at reformatting this and maybe doing it again and seeing how that goes. So thanks again. Appreciate for your time. This will be available as recorded, I believe, and so that will be posted. And also just want to make another plug, encourage you to go download the preview version and try it out for yourself so you can see some of the features that we've talked about today. And just start learning more about IRIS and leaving us comments. There, our developer community, I'll give a plug there as well, is a great place to learn more, to see demos and videos, and ask questions, ask additional questions if you have them. We have a great community there of people who will jump in and answer those questions. So thanks again, and have a good afternoon or evening.